I just found out my fiancé has been doing horrifying things to me. My fiancé and I have been together for almost 3 years. While we've had our fair share of problems, we've never had issues to this extent. To give some context, I'm the sole breadwinner. I work from home, but my fiancé takes care of our baby while I do so. My fiancé does not drink alcohol, and this was due to a previous situation where he lost control and wrecked my apartment, but I do drink. He stopped drinking on his own accord, and has never acted like that since. I like to have some beers after work, and especially on the weekends. I ended up starting to drink something stronger in place of beer, which I now know is really foolish, just because of my stressful days. I'm a software engineer. When I started this, on the weekends, I would get too drunk. Almost always. I take full blame for that, but every Friday night, without fail, I'd end up too drunk, partaking in some recreational activities, and off to bed I went. I was never ill or anything, but just a bit too much for me. And so I'd just go to bed. This is why I blame myself. After a few weeks of switching to something stronger, I'd wake up, not hungover or anything, just a normal wake up, and my fiancé would ask me crude questions, jokingly, like how are you feeling today? The first time he asked me this, I laughed and went you were not serious, and he laughed too. Then we'd go about our day. But this happened quite a few times after. He'd always ask the morning after, posing strange questions. Always weird, but I chalked it up to him just being a bit sour that I was drinking since he does not. Eventually, the question became, do you remember us being together last night? And again, he said it jokingly. I never realized he was actually serious. This has happened maybe 20 times now. We have been having issues with our baby's sleep schedule. We take turns, as of lately, to get up with the baby when she wakes up early. She usually wakes up between 4 a.m. to 6 a.m., and it's been killing us. I stopped drinking the stronger stuff a few months ago because of the awful hangovers and me being sound asleep. I have since switched back to beer and lighter beverages. Well, today was his day to wake up with the baby. I had 3 lighter beverages last night, over the course of maybe 4 hours, but I wasn't drunk. So, he did wake up with her, and a few hours later, still before I needed to be up for work, he comes to lay her back down for a nap. I briefly woke up and acknowledged them. She sleeps in our room, and went back to sleep. The next thing I know, our room, which is pitch black due to our curtains, is lighting up sporadically. I see it under my eyelids. Eventually, my eyes shoot open, and I realize that my fiancé is in bed with me, just laying the opposite way. I figured he was taking a nap too, maybe on his phone, so I repositioned and got comfy. But then the flashes of light continued. After a minute, I realized, while I was laying on my side, in a nightgown, with my legs spread a bit, that he was laying on the opposite end of the bed, under the covers, taking pictures of me inappropriately. When I realized this, I kind of froze. I thought maybe he was doing it as a joke. So I held still, and waited. But he kept going. Then I felt him behaving inappropriately in bed next to me a moment later. The flash must have gone off a good 15 times. To give a bit more context, I have never once known this man to engage in self-gratification. Ever. Never once. Never before a romantic encounter, nothing. And I know what you're all thinking, but no, he doesn't do it in private. He doesn't. I always thought it was a bit strange, but whatever. Finally, he got up, left, and a little while later I woke up and went downstairs to say hi. After a few minutes, he goes, how are you feeling? And I couldn't help it, but my laugh was really nervous. I'm assuming he caught on to that and goes, you know I was thinking about you, right? Because you wouldn't be with me last night? I truly didn't know how to respond. After a few seconds, I just kind of laughed and went no way, but he was serious. He then hid his phone for a second, I'm assuming deleted some photos, then showed me the pictures he took of me while I was sleeping. I was shocked. I didn't know how he'd react if I just started outright calling him inappropriate, so I told him that I looked gross, and to delete them. He wouldn't. So now here I am. I had to call out of work today because I feel physically sick. All those times he told me he had been with me, I do not remember. I was already asleep. And like I mentioned, I thought he was kidding. But once I started piecing things together, like evidence of a romantic encounter being in the bed, things like that confirmed he did indeed do those things to me while I was passed out. I'm starting to think the only reason he's been honest about it is that he thinks I might remember. The only time I ever have was this morning, which scares me even more, but here I am. I know what I need to do, but I don't at the same time. I'm sick. I feel gross. I feel weird. I feel used. I didn't want to think of this as assault. Heck, I still don't. But at the same time, I had no idea this was even happening. I'm very angry, not necessarily with him, but at myself for letting this happen. What about my daughter? What in the world? I'm terrified for her. He's taking a nap now. I don't know how to get him out of my house without calling the authorities. So I guess that's exactly what I need.